Welcome to the Gag Is podcast with me, your host, Charlie Shantae, where I share the roller coaster of my life, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. After becoming a teen mom at 14 and a widow by the age of 21, it's a journey filled with tears and laughter, reminding you that even in the toughest moments, there's hope. The gag is life may be unpredictable, but it's always worth living. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Gag Is podcast. I am your girl Charlie Shantae. Thank you for coming back and kicking it with me for another week. Oh my gosh, can y'all believe it is February already? I feel like I was just telling y'all Happy New Year's, but like now we are in the month of February. Crazy. However, we like I felt probably it's next week gonna be summer. And then the week after that gonna be Thanksgiving, and then the week after that gonna be Christmas. So we can probably say we got about a month left in this year. I hope y'all are doing well. We're gonna go ahead and jump right into this episode and have a seat, get you something to drink. This is gonna be one of those episodes that you're probably gonna need some tissues with as well. I debated for a minute if I was going to do this episode or not. Um, because I said, dang, can I do this episode? I want to give you guys transparency, but I also want to make sure that you're not hearing me sniffling crying, over your radio or wherever you're listening to this podcast. Or if you are watching, I don't want you to see me with the ugly, crying, sniveling face. But I said, for the sake of transparency, and I don't know who is watching and I don't know who I'm inspiring. So I'm going to go ahead and take that risk and put this episode together. For those that are watching, check out my shirt. This jersey actually holds a special meaning to me. This is a jersey that was given to me and it's signed on the back. I never wear it. I specifically saved it for this episode. It's signed by the Orlando Magic, a player from the Orlando Magic, and is dedicated to my husband. It has his name on the back. So I figure what better way to do this episode about him than to wear his jersey. And I also have his dog tags on as well. If you're watching this, you'll see what I'm talking about. But if you're listening, you probably just hear the jingling. But these are his actual dog tags from him that we'll get into later on. And then my military wife ring as well that I keep on this chain. I did have my wedding ring on here, but I think I took it off because I was too scared that I was going to lose it and I'll be like, oh my God. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into this episode. And it's very transparent. Very transparent. I will say that I don't wish this feeling, this lifestyle, this anything on anybody, not even my worst enemy. This week makes 17 years that my husband has been gone. And I feel like it was just yesterday that it all took place. Like 17 years, like, wow, I can't believe it's been that long. All right, so I'm gonna tell y'all how it happened. So it was Super Bowl Sunday, and I had spoke to him a couple days prior, and we were talking about the Super Bowl, and we had made a little bet. And then he said, "I'll talk to you Super Bowl Sunday, baby." I said, "All right." I said, "Just have whatever I had used to bet." I said, "Just make sure you know that you have my bet whatever. So, cause I'm gonna win, and even if I didn't win, I was gonna still win. And he was like, yeah, and then I'll see you the next week. So he was coming home for Valentine's Day. So I was like, all right, we got the Super Bowl, and then I know after the Super Bowl, he'll be home. Well, he never came home. I am in Walmart. Okay. Okay. We're going to try not to cry. I was in Walmart and I remember I had a Nextel phone. Do y'all remember the Nextel phones, like with the, little chirp chirp? And, this was 17 years ago, 2007. Phones didn't work that good. So, every time we go in Walmart and your phone never worked. And so at the time, people were going around and telling people that their family members who were in the military had died and were scamming them. So I'm in Walmart and my phone rings, and my phone, let me back up. Let me back up because I got to give y'all context of how in tune we were. So the night prior to the Super Bowl, I'm out with my girls and we're having a good time. And all of a sudden, a big fight breaks out in the club. This fight breaks out in the club, and I actually get injured. And, you know, not injured like bad, but like I'm able to get up, regain my composure, and things like that. And I was like, I want to go to the hospital. And when I tell you I was hurt, but I wasn't hurt. Like I could have went home and took some Motrin and laid down. I was like, I want to go to the hospital. And then I am just bawling my eyes out, like just bawling, bawling, bawling. You would think that somebody beat my ass or something, like just bawling. And I'm like, this is so crazy. Like, what is this all about? So, fast forward, I'm in Walmart. I get a call from, I want to say, from Tarvis. And he goes, there's some people at your house. And I'm like, what kind of people? And he's like, there's some people at your house. I think you should come home. And I was like, what? So I called my NCO and I was like, hey, Sergeant O, I was like, my homeboy just called me and said there's some military people in my house. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. And he was like, I haven't heard anything. So he was like, um, he's like, I'm gonna call you back. So I was like, all right. So I'm in Walmart and I'm still shopping or whatever. And he calls me back and I'm like, what up, Sergeant O? He was like, I'm on my way to your house. I was like, okay, this can't be happening right now. This cannot be happening right now. So I get in my car and Walmart is probably 10 minutes away. And that had to have been the longest 10 minutes of my life. I get to my house and like all the people that I hang out with are there. And I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, I'm just going to sit in my car because I'm like, if I sit in my car, I'm like, they can't tell me. So I'll never know. So I go up to the stairs and I go in my house and I close the door and my bad, yo. I close the door. They come to the door and they tell me, and I just lose it. I completely lose it because I'm like, this can't be happening right now. It can't be happening right now. See, this is how I wanted to do this episode because I knew I was going to cry. I knew I was going to cry. And so I open the door and they tell me, eh, I'm sorry, y'all. I open the door and they tell me And I'm like, oh my God. And the first person I called was my brother. And I call him and I'm just screaming. And he's like, who did it? What's wrong? What's going on? And I'm like, he's gone. He's gone. And I actually remember hiding behind the couch because I'm like, this can't be going on. It can't be happening right now. Like I felt like my life was ending. I was like, this can't be, it can't be happening right now. And my dad and my stepmom came over, and I'm just like, and then my husband's mom called, and I'm just like, I can't do this right now. Like, the person that I wanted to do forever with is gone. So how am I supposed to do forever? And the person I wanted to do forever with is gone. Like, how does that work? And I just, so like, it all made sense that when the fight broke out in the club and I got hurt and I went to the hospital and I was just bawling for no reason, was the same exact time that he had got hurt. And it's crazy that I felt that in my soul, that something was wrong with him. It's just crazy, but it's like we like that's twin, like that, like what y'all calling out is twin flame, like that's twin, like we locked in. And so, you know, it was just a wild day. It was just a super wild day. And I'm like, okay, like this is a joke because he gonna call me for the Super Bowl and we're gonna talk about the Super Bowl. And then he never calls. I'm like, man, I'm like, he's still out on a mission. And so I'm like, all right. And so I go to sleep and I wake up the next day to go to work and they're like, you can't come to work. Like, and I'm like, yes, I can. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I want to come to work. And so they're like, no. And let me tell you how people are. And so we were both military, and my unit was like, you can get a couple days, but after that, you got to come to work. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah. They're like, you got to come to work. And I'm like, my whole husband just died. And so for my military people, I had to get orders from his unit just to be able to go and take care of affairs, like my wifely affairs for my husband. So this was 2007. The war had, it was still new. It was only a couple years in, and I had to wait for his body to come back, and this had to be the longest 10 days of my life. The longest 10 days of my life. And I'm like, oh my God. And so I remember flying, I remember driving up to the airport, and because, I had to receive his body. And I remember the traffic was at a standstill. The air traffic was at a standstill when he came in. And his PJ pulled up, and they opened it, and they they slid him out. And I just remember collapsing on the tarmac because I'm like, it's really hitting now. Like, it's really true. Like, he's really gone. And I'm like, okay. And so I remember getting to the funeral home, and they opened it up, and I seen him, and I was like, that's not my husband. And I want y'all to understand something. You're used to seeing people. You're used to hearing about people dying. But this is a casualty of war. Like, he's here in this box because and he's in this box because everybody is to walk around and do and say what they want while he's over there fighting. And he's a casualty of war. And he's so young. Like he had so much life. We had so much life. And I'm like, that's not him, because I still didn't want to accept the fact that he was gone. But then on top of that, they mortuary affairs did his makeup. And when I tell y'all they messed him up, I was like, hell no. I was like, y'all need the funeral home. I told him, I said, y'all need to fix it. Cause he need to look like himself. And so they fixed it. And I was at that funeral home so much because I was like, I can't deal. And so the night before his funeral, I remember I was at the hotel and I woke up out my sleep because he had came to me in a dream and he was like, "Baby, I'm good. I got you. I'm good. Don't cry. You straight." And I'm like, I woke up and I ran into the other room just to try to, like, where did he go? Because I knew this was a dream. So I was like, where did he go? And I'm just like, man, like, life is so unfair. Life is so unfair. I'm like, here I am, 21 years old, burying my husband. Burying my husband. Like, I can't even fathom. Like, they say till death do us part. But why did the death part have to come so soon? It still tears me up just to even think about it. Just to think about it, because now I have to create a new normal. Like, I have to do new normal things. Like, when I have an inconvenience, I don't have him to call anymore. Like, I literally have to talk to him in heaven, and we all know heaven ain't got no phone. And I'm just like, man, this is super crazy. And like, for a long time, I've like every weekend, like, I was at the cemetery because I'm like, I just want to take him home with me. Like, this is crazy. Like, this is super crazy. Like, I don't even know how this is happening. And after it happened with him being military, you get so many phone calls, you get so many letters, you get, congressional letters, you get stuff from the president, you get stuff from everybody. And it can just be overwhelming, you know. Um, and in all transparency moment, my husband is gone and I have a mother-in-law who was like, he's dead now. Go on with your life. Like, so cold hearted. And so, you know, Valentine's Day kind of rolls around because it's taking place in the month of February. Imagine you telling your spouse you love them for the last time, and then they pass away, and you get a Valentine's Day card from them. That's why when Valentine's Day come around, I don't even like it, because I'm like, the person who loved me down, I got a card from them after they were gone. So, like, like that, because at that time Mel was so dang on slow. And so, but to know that before he took his last breath, he wanted to ensure that his wife had a card for Valentine's Day. So super wild. So super wild. And it eats me up because I miss him. And, I'll forever be his wife. And I know that. And I'm gonna always hold him down. Always, always and forever. Let me dry my face up because I know he'd be like, here she go. Yeah, here I go. Um, yeah. So that's how that went. So yeah. Um, Casualties of war are real. Um, and later on, I'm gonna talk about, not in this episode, but in future episodes, I'm gonna start discussing how we as Black women are not given the same resources, not given the same information as others to deal with trauma and grief. Um, it's crazy because after he passed away, I was still on active duty, and about 6 months later, they tried to deploy me to the same area that he was killed, and I was like, "Oh, y'all can kiss my ass." And I ended up getting out the military because I'm like, now I'm already traumatized because my man's is gone. And y'all gonna traumatize me more by trying to station me in the same place that he lost his life in? Like, is nobody thinking? Is nobody thinking, like, using their brain? Like, would you want to do this? Like, if your significant other was killed, would you want to go to the area that they were killed in and live there for 15 months? Absolutely not. So I ended up getting out the military, and it's not something that I wanted to do, but for my mental, I had to. You know, I had to, because how was I supposed to be in a combat zone and think properly, you know, and keep myself and my comrades safe, knowing that my husband lost his life in the same area? Like, how was that safe? How was that good for anybody's mental health? And what's crazy is, I'm not going to talk about I'm not going to reveal, how he died or anything like that. However, the Army is a small entity, and the nurse that actually took care of him after he got injured just happened to be the girlfriend of somebody in my unit. And when she came back, she was like, he fought so hard and for so long, because the type of injuries that he sustained, it should have killed him instantly. But she was like, he held on for so long. And I'm like, just to know that he was fighting to stay alive, to come home, because that's the type of person he was. He don't give up. He don't give up at all, or he didn't give up. You know, but that's just what it was. And then months later, to know that someone who knew my husband for like 2 months um decided to go and write a book and talk about him in his book is real wild. um I wanted to pursue legal action, but once I looked at the numbers that the book was doing, it wasn't even worth it, you know. I'm like, you trying to sell somebody else truth. You shouldn't do that. Like that's crazy. Months later, when his unit finally came home, I did attend that. It was bittersweet, but to know, um, to know that everybody, to know that a lot of those guys came home safely, but they were so triggered. It's just it's crazy. Um, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Uh, yeah, it's just crazy. So, let me stop being a crybaby. All right. So now that we got that out of the way, I'm still gonna give y'all a you can't make this up. And this is kind of wild because this is funeral related. And listen, if you know me, you know that I have an amazing sense of humor. So in the military, at a funeral, taps is played. Sometimes it's a live taps player, sometimes it's a recording. So there was an actual live taps player. And so on the way to the funeral, he got into, not to the funeral, but on the way to the graveyard, he got into a car accident. I don't know how this happened because my mind was somewhere else. But I heard about it after the fact. So I was like, wow. But I don't know if it was like just a tap tap or what happened. All I know is by the time I got to the cemetery, he was there to play. I mean, he was a little shaky, but he was there to play. I give it to him. I give it to him. Yeah, I give it to him. And so later on, after we get done at the cemetery and we go back to the church to have the repast, y'all, why my homegirl purse got stolen in the church? In the church. Who's stealing from church? So wild. So freaking wild. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap this thing on up. All right, so for y'all know I do a song lyric of the week, but this week I have a few songs. Because I think these songs they kind of got me through the first couple of days, and then one of them is his favorite song. It was kind of like our wedding song. Um, so I decided to put that on there as well. This is a playlist, so I will link the playlist down in the description so that if you just need a little playlist or something, you can go ahead and download it. So the songs that I have for this week are Pretty Ricky, Make It Like It Was, Nivea, Complicated, SZA, Nobody Gets Me, Glitter Gloss and DC Young Fly, Miss My Dog, and Mr. Spencer's favorite song, Cater to You. All right. That is all that I have for y'all this week. Please excuse my ugly face and all my crying and tears, but I got to keep it real with y'all and give it to y'all raw. If you are watching this on YouTube, stay tuned because I have a little of a piece of a vlog from my time at the cemetery from this week's visit. Um, those of y'all that are listening on your favorite podcasting platform, make sure you download, you subscribe, and you share. And then go on over to YouTube and check out the extra vlog that is included with this week's blog or this week's podcast. Um, and until next week, I love y'all. Peace.
Hey y'all, this is just a quick little 20-second something that I put together of my trip to go see my husband for his anniversary. And you also see me jumping with my grandbaby. So much fun with her. Here I'm going to get the balloons. Going out to the cemetery. Didn't get to spend all the time that I wanted to with him because they were having other services out there. But nonetheless, I enjoyed my time.